Of all the critters on this planet, if I had to eat just one from now until the end of my days, I think it would be chicken. Don't get me wrong, I can and would eat all kinds of critters, especially things like, say, squid. I mean, I can eat a bunch of squid because I like squid, and I also know darn well that squid would eat me given the opportunity. I told you not to come here when I'm working. You're another show, I promise. We'll have you on really soon, okay? Okay, wait for me now. I'm sorry. Where were we? Oh, chicken. And whole chicken in particular is the theme of the day. And apparently, according to many of you that I've encountered out in the world, whole chicken is an occasional harbinger of culinary doom. And I get it. I can understand how there would be issues. Heck, just buying a chicken can be a headache as the myriad laws and regulations regarding grading and labeling of poultry is both labyrinthine and Byzantine. Take this specimen. At 3.5 pounds, it qualifies as a broiler fryer. That is a chicken between 6 and 10 weeks in age, 2.5 to 4.5 pounds. It also happens to be a grade A chicken, as most chickens sold in this country are, meaning plump, meaty body, clean skin, free of bruises, broken bones, feather cuts, discoloration. Grading, remember, all about physical appearance. Nothing else. Nothing about nutrition, nothing about, did they live happily on a hilltop watching sunsets and frolicking with leprechauns? No. All of those kind of pieces of pertinent information, except for the leprechaun part, all comes from a litany of marketing terms and labels that have come up over the years. And I have put a list of some of them together. Two lists. One, words that I would pay attention to. The other, I would ignore completely as utter gobbledygook. Let us begin with terms that I think do matter. All right, beginning with USDA organic. Organic certification verifies that the birds have been raised according to USDA organic regulations through their entire lives. These regulations include a prohibition on antibiotics, the maintenance of free-range standards, and strict reliance on feed that's been grown organically grown without synthetic pesticides or fertilizers. The practice also allowed sellers to use the words non-GMO, meaning no genetically modified ingredients have been used in raising the birds. But remember, the non-GMO claim refers only to the feed, not the chickens. All chickens, at least for now in this country, are non-GMO. All right, next up, fresh. Birds labeled as fresh must have never been held below 26 degrees Fahrenheit, okay? Because chickens contain, protein, salt, and stuff like that. They generally won't freeze hard, at least, until these drop below 28, 29 degrees. That means that a bird could have a slushy surface ice on it and still be called technically fresh. Birds held for any amount of time below 0 degrees Fahrenheit have to be labeled as frozen or previously frozen, which means there's really a nomenclatural void for birds held between 0 and 25 degrees Fahrenheit, which I just don't like one bit. And keep in mind, even high quality, flash frozen birds could have been thawed, frozen anywhere along the supply chain. Something to think about. Now let's see. Then we've got, I like this one, pasture raised. This has got actual meaning as the USDA has officially updated the definition of pasture raised to require that animals spend the majority of their lives on rooted vegetative pasture, thus distinguishing it from free range, which we'll get to in a minute. All right, air chilled. This one matters too. By law, chicken carcasses must be chilled immediately after to prevent the spread of, possible pathogens. Now, the cheap way to do this is to soak them in a cold solution laced with bleach. The problem is this results in the meat taking on water, which negatively affects the way it cooks and increases its weight so that you pay more for something you don't want. Air-chilled birds are just that, chilled down with blasts of purified air. I like that. All right, perfect. Let's move on. Third-party certifications, all right? This refers to organizations that provide certifications to growers who live up to and maintain high standards held up by the certifier, typically beyond anything that would be required by governmental oversight. To me, these are the ones that I would look out for. Animal welfare certified and animal welfare approved. I like both of these organizations and would pay more for birds that bear these seals. Keep in mind that the certification process does typically cost the grower money most of the time, so they got to pass it on. Now, just remember, it is not at all illegal to just make up your own seal and stick it on there. What do you think? Like this one. Right? Bob says it's okay. It's bogus. Also, I'm pretty sure an AI made that. All right, now speaking of bogus, let us move into our next file. These are words I would completely ignore. I would ignore like the plague, in fact. Free range. Free range. This claim certifies the chicken was allowed access to the outdoors for a portion of the day. Now, the USDA has no requirement about the amount of time the chicken enjoys set outdoors. In other words, the hen house has got a door on it. Birds don't necessarily go through the door, being as there's food and water inside, and foxes and wolves and chicken hawks and humans outside. Meaningless. Cage-free. Cage-free. Only laying hens, that is, chickens actively squirting out eggs, laying eggs, are kept in cages. Putting this on a container of actual chicken is like saying gluten-free olive oil. All right, I like this one. This is a good one. Farm-raised. Duh. That's what they call it where the chickens live. Natural. Ha! Natural chicken has no artificial ingredients or added color and has been minimally processed. Minimally processing means the product was processed in a manner that does not fundamentally alter or alterate. What would you add to a chicken? A bad attitude or teeth? I don't know. How would you fundamentally change the bird? It just doesn't matter. Ignore this. Okay, now the rules governing these assorted claims regarding antibiotics are incredibly complicated and will require a lawyer to understand. My attorney cannot help me right now because he's operating the camera. Really. So I'm going to try to do this myself. Now, no antibiotics administered or raised without antibiotics. To use these terms, the producer must prove that the source flock was never administered antibiotics, including things I can't pronounce in their feed, water, and or via injections at any point in their life. No antibiotics ever. This phrase can be used on poultry labels where the producer has supplied the USDA with sufficient documentation that the birds have never received antibiotics for any reason. Sellers also use the term never ever. No antibiotics. No, well, you know what, doesn't matter. All right, now no growth promoting antibiotics. Okay, now that's used, means that they're only for therapeutics, not to accelerate growth. This has to be clearly indicated so the customers know that antibiotics are being used responsibly. Antibiotic-free does not mean the same thing as no antibiotics ever. Nope, not the same thing. Refers to the federal law mandating that all chickens must undergo a minimum 14-day withdrawal period between the last day antibiotics were administered and the harvest date. All producers must follow this law, so all chickens in this country can technically be considered antibiotic-free. So look, in the end, as much as I like things like third producer certifications and stuff like that, the words that I looked for in the end are right here: pasture-raised and air-chilled. But that's just me. Even if you do manage to purchase a chicken without having some kind of cognitive breakdown and you manage to get it home, keep it refrigerated, to prevent salmonella, then you've actually got to cook the darn thing. And when it comes to cooking this critter, say in an oven, there's a lot of geometry and anatomy stuff to consider. And we're going to consider it right now, only with this guy. Now, first of all, along with multiple bones, joints, cartilage, and assortment of connective stuff, these critters are composed of two very specific and different types of meat tissue. Fast twitch musculature, which is anaerobic, powered by glycogen, and therefore white ish, and slow twitch, which are aerobic, oxygen burning, therefore darker. Fast twitch have developed the way they are because they don't move very often. And when they do, they haul ass for a short amount of time. When's the last time you saw a chicken fly? There's a point. Now, the thigh, the leg, drumstick, are slow twitch muscles, meaning they move constantly, but without any sense of urgency. The chicken crossing the road. Slow twitch. To make matters worse, these two types of tissue are best cooked to different temperatures. By the time the legs and thighs are done satisfactorily, the breast meat is very often, shall we say, parched. Oh, and the shape of this creature is essentially that of a semi-hollow, lopsided, fleshy bowling ball, making heat penetration tedious at best. To ensure doneness and to create as much delicious and appetizing exterior as possible, I suggest that we maximize the bird's surface to mass ratio. And to my mind, there is no better way to do that than to flatten this sucker. In other words, spatchcock it. Now, a lot of so-called food experts, web recipe writers, Instagrammers, TikTokers, and the like do go on about spatchcocking like it's a new invention. Indeed, it is not. Now, for those curious about the term, you may have encountered testimony stating that spatchcocking is Old Irish or even Scottish, maybe, for dispatching the cock. That is quickly killing and cooking the bird. I suspect that it's more likely a play on spitchcock, an even older English, German term regarding the splitting of eels. Whatever the origin has come to mean, opened up like a book or butterflied, if for no other reason but that a chicken that's been treated like this looks like a big meaty butterfly. Now, it also resembles a spatchcock, I suppose, but to me, well, let's face it. I mean, spatchcock is fun to say. You know, at one point I was so fast at spatchcocking that some called me Captain Spatchcock, which sounds, let's face it, better than Dirk Diggler. Let's spatch a cock! Although you can certainly spatch the heck out of a cock with a nice big knife. I've done it, seen it done a bunch of times. I'm the kind of cook who just never brings a knife to a scissor fight. Always liked that movie. We have all been using scissors, or at least most of us, since kindergarten. Therefore, we're proficient long before we become good with knives. Of course, what kind of shears or scissors we use for a job like this really does matter. The difference between shears and scissors really is just, well, technically scissors are supposed to have symmetrical handle. It doesn't matter. Heavyweight, shears, lightweight. Scissors. Now, scissors, like this pair right here, very effective because they are, I always have to look at this note, compound machine incorporating two first-class levers.
I'm Lever Man!
Remember? No? You're that young. Anyway, so let's evaluate. These are like paper scissors. These will never do the trick. Here we actually have culinary shears. This is a little bitty pair that it's meant for like trimming very, very fine work. This is something that we would use like for food styling stuff, not something you've got to have. These two pair are the kind that look typically familiar to a lot of people because they come apart. And, well, we need a better washing. And people like that because it means you can separate them and really clean them. Nothing will ever get stuck down in that hinge, that fulcrum point of the lever. The problem is they just aren't very good. Even really expensive ones, because they're all about this joint that comes apart. So I just don't like them. I don't like this pair. If you take apart shears and throw them, you're throwing knives, aren't you? I'll put myself in timeout later. Now this is a nice pair of kitchen shears. These are my personal kitchen shears. I can't say the name of this country, Polares-Solsona. You make that out? You see that? I don't know how to say it. French, Spanish, doesn't even say where they're made. What I know is that they're heavy, right? And they do come apart, but you've got to have a wrench, like you've got to have a box wrench and a socket set to get them apart. They're very, very effective, very, very heavy duty. So I use these for a lot of things in the kitchen, and cutting the back out of a chicken is certainly one of them. I have to go get my chicken. I want it to be noted that I did not wash this chicken. I unbag my chickens. I let my chickens drain thoroughly. I do not wash them. So, perhaps a little more light on the subject. Much better, much better. So, what are we going to do? We're going to cut out the backbone. Flip that sucker over, right? Now, you'll notice some anatomy. They've got that's where the hips connect. There are those beautiful little nuggets that are referred to as the oysters. Unfortunately, they're going to, small amount of meat. It's going to be kind of sort of sacrificed to this. Shears. And we're just going to literally go to what they call the Pope's nose. Insert the blade. We're going to go you can start whichever side you want. We'll start on this side and just cut right up the spine. If you find it's really hard, you can put your thumb, like on the outside to get a little bit more leverage. I'm Weaverman. And we cut up this side. There we go. Now this may look to you like chicken back that you might think of throwing away. Do not throw this away. Come with me. Come on. Behold, I've got my backbone sitting inside a turned inside out zip top bag, an old one that I keep around for this kind of thing. Here is my bag of stock fixings, various pieces of chicken scrap, along with some vegetation. I've got some greenery in there as well. So the whole reason that I do this, because I don't want to have to wash my hands again, right? So I dump that in, then I can turn this back outside and seal it up. I don't have any chickeny hands to wash. When this is full, we make stock. Seriously. Well, we've taken out the backbone. We've got something that looks kind of like a Francis Bacon painting here, but that is not by any means fully spatchcocked yet or butterflied. What we've got to do is we've got to get this keel bone out so that everything will really lay flat. So for that boning knife, this is nothing special. I mean, it's a good knife. I think it's a Forstner. It's a stamped blade. It's not a forged blade or anything. You don't really need that from a boning knife, but I do need this little curve right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this little piece of connective stuff right here up at the top of the keel bone. And I'm just going to cut through that and then barely slice through the top of the keel bone. Now, if I've done that right, I should just be able to pop that open like that, and then hopefully the other side as well. Yeah, there we go. And I run my finger down the keel bone that's separating the two lobes of the breast. And without lever man here, I'm just gonna lever that out. Now in an older bird, like a roaster, you would see more calcification of the keel bone. This is cartilage, so you can actually kind of age the bird just by looking at this. I'll get that later. Okay, so at this point, we now have a spatchcocked chicken. Some people like to fold the wings the other way. I don't. This is the configuration that I like. So moving on from here, I'm going to do some seasoning. Now, you can season the heck out of a chicken, Earlier in my chicken cooking life, I would add 15 different things: cumin, za'atar, smoked paprika. I would just pile on the spices. And over the years, I've gotten more and more like, it died. Why don't we just do as little as possible to taste what it actually, tastes like? So salt and pepper. And I've already got my salt cellar open, and it's a salt cellar that I only use for seasoning meat, so I don't have to worry about my chickeny hands. And I've pre-ground pepper so that I don't have to handle my pepper mill, because I get frustrated with all the math of keeping separate. So salt on the first side, and I really make it rain. I want a good bit of salt here. Why? Well, I want to pull out water-soluble proteins, right? Just like when you salt fish, salt anything else, you want to pull out some moisture that then creates a surface brine, a very powerful, concentrated surface brine. And then some of that gets absorbed again. But also it gives you the opportunity, once you've got all of those liquids out at the surface, to dry them, to drive away some of that excess moisture, which creates a nice kind of sticky tactile. If it was fish, we would call it a pellicle. It technically is still a pellicle here. It's dried proteins, which is really great if you're smoking. But I also think that it really, really helps when it comes to the browning that we want to get just out of a roasted bird. Now, it looks like a lot of pepper. I don't think so. I think that's just right. I'm going to flip them over. And I'm going to flip over onto a rack. This is just a cooling rack, that sits inside a half sheet pan. Very valuable piece of equipment in the kitchen. And more salt. Plenty. A little bit more on the legs. And pepper. Now I've got to wash my chickeny hands. Gosh darn it, because I got to pick. Oh, I'll be right back. Just stay right there. So, to dry, I typically will leave a chicken that I'm going to roast or grill or anything. I will leave it out at room temperature for at least 2 hours with a fan blowing on it. Okay, now this is a perfectly wonderful little USB charge fan. If I dry one overnight, I will put the chicken in the fridge on a rack like this with a pan under it and one of these going, because it'll go for about 6 hours. But that's not what I really do. It isn't. It's not really what I do at all. You want to see what I really do? As you can see, this is a raw only fan. Raw only fan. We have many raw only fans here at the office. And you'd be surprised the kind of things you can do with a raw only fan. This raw only fan is actually made by a company called Renato. It's a really good fan, but we literally only use this to dry meat. And so watch what I do. You're gonna hate this. Sanitation people hate this because they think that it's got like Ebola or something. It doesn't. Just, I take the bird on the rack. I put it on the fan. I turn the fan on. I turn the fan to low. And I walk away for half an hour. I'm gonna half an hour on this side, then I'll flip it and go half an hour, and then repeat on both sides for a total of 2 hours of drying, which is gonna create this wonderful, it won't even be tacky, it'll be dry like a piece of furniture. That means that it will brown fantastically. Because remember, above all, the drier the surface of the meat is, the surface of the skin, the browner it will get in the oven. And I will be back. You stay there. All right, it's time to turn the bird for one more half hour of drying, which will leave us upright. You can already see this is really nice and dry. Matter of fact, when you touch it with your bare finger, it's like there's no moisture at all. That is going to let us make a very brown bird. Now would be a good time to go ahead and crank your hot box to 450 degrees, rack in the middle, if you please. All right, time is up. We've had a full 2 hours of drying this bird. I'll be honest, I often go longer, but I think this is all that we can reasonably expect today. So this goes now over to a half sheet pan. What do I need to do before this goes into the oven? Well, a couple of things. Number one, I don't have to put any oil on this if I don't want to. I mean, truth is, when it's this dry, it's going to brown no matter what. But a little bit of oil will certainly help to prevent further moisture loss by being a barrier, but it's also going to help get more heat or act as an adhesive for heat. So I lightly oil the bird, and I'm just using a neutral oil here. I think avocado oil, I think. Light, right? I don't want it dripping off. I don't want to have to deal with, fire and smoke and all that kind of drama in the oven. I've had that drama before. I didn't like it. So it's really just kind of the lightest coat you can get. But you do want to get down in everywhere. There we go. Now I'll roll them over. Now this is good because this is the side that's going to be cooking up. So this is, ready to go. And just a thin coat. It's almost papery. Yeah, that's bone dry. Just a little oil, paint that on, get it down in the cracks and crevices. If you go splotchy on this, and if you get it on too thick and it runs off, you will end up with spots on your chicken. And by the way, this happens even worse with turkey. Now, I have no intention of moving this in any in any way, fashion, or form once it goes into the oven. So the only piece of business that we have left is thermometrics. I am going to use a probe thermometer because I want to know when the deepest portion of the breast gets to 155 degrees. That doesn't mean it's going to be done, but that means I'm going to want to be watching it very carefully. I am not beyond, I know 165 is the instant kill temperature for salmonella. I know that, but longer periods at lower temperatures do it as well. So if I take a look at this and it's at 155, I'll stop and I'm going to check the thigh. And if it's looking good to me, I'm going to take it out and let it rest. So that's what I want to know. And the main reason that I'm going to go into the breast instead of the thigh is that there's just a lot more kind of meat in there for me to get this thermometer in. So I'm going to go in at about a 45-degree angle. There, that should do the trick. And now to the oven. So the unexpected thing here is that I'm going to separate the rack and the bird from the pan that it's been sitting in. I'm placing the bird there on the rack and placing the pan underneath it to catch any drippings. That will maximize airflow. And I've got my thermometer set, and I'll just pop that right there. That does not mean that I'm not going to be looking at the time. I'm figuring I'm going to hear that alarm. Actually, place bets with myself. I'm going to bet that I'm going to hear that alarm in 37 minutes. We'll see. Place your bets. Place your bets. No, that's bad. Gambling's not. No, we're not doing that. Ordinarily, I would leave the temperature probe in, but I was really afraid of snagging it on the door, and I didn't want to tear the meat. So that's what you get when you take the time to dry the skin. Beautiful golden brown, looks great underneath too. I'm gonna let this sit 10 minutes. 10 minutes, and then we'll, my mouth's watering a little, excuse me. Oh. And I lost the bet. I was 2 minutes off. One of the nicest things about spatchcocking a bird is how easily you can do this. Et voila. Do you have chickens? Beautiful. Look at the doneness. Oof. Absolutely gorgeous. Now, if I was serving this as is, and this is perfect for, 2 to 3, maybe even 4 people. Usually I just eat a quarter, the leg quarter. But if you're serving half chicken, I would just serve it like this. I would not cut it any further because there's a good bit of juice built up in the, oh, I gotta go in. So to make this cut, you just kind of lift the joint a little bit, lift that thigh up so that you can just easily slide your knife in. And you'll get right into that. Oh, very nice. Now I'm going to, because I'm a drumstick kind of guy. That's a $120 chicken right there. New York restaurant, $120. Maybe $140. That's it. I'm opening a chicken joint. See you next time on Alton Brown Cooks Food. Or maybe not, because I may open that chicken place now.